Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to enthusiastically dive into the exact techniques you need to transform your basic, run-of-the-mill AI video generations into professional, Hollywood-level cinematic masterpieces. If you've been playing around with AI generation and feeling like your outputs look just a little too plastic, maybe a little too artificial, or honestly just kind of flat, well, you are in the exact right place. We are going to decode the secret language of cinematography and apply it directly to your text prompts. So, want your AI videos to look like Hollywood movies? It's a super common frustration, right? You have this incredible, epic vision in your head, but when you type it into the AI, what comes back looks more like a cheap video game cutscene. Our source material highlights this exact gap between expectation and reality. But here is the really good news. The bridge between amateur output and a cinematic blockbuster isn't some expensive, paid software upgrade. It's actually just your vocabulary. And that brings us to the core thesis for today's explainer. Small prompt changes create massive quality improvements. You absolutely do not need a different AI model, and you don't need a supercomputer. You simply need better, highly specific words to unlock a massive leap in quality. You see, the AI is a lot like a brilliant, but incredibly literal actor. If you give it a vague direction, you're going to get a vague performance. But if you give it precise, industry-standard cinematic direction, it will deliver an absolute blockbuster. To get you there, we'll cover 4 key areas today. First, the Hollywood AI secret. Second, speaking the camera's language. Third, essential cinematic parameters. And finally, the anatomy of a master prompt. Let's jump right in. Section 1. The Hollywood AI secret. Unlocking cinematic quality. The true secret revealed by the source material is fundamentally a mindset shift. You have to stop using generic descriptions like a man walking in a city and start commanding the AI to behave exactly like a physical Hollywood film crew. Moving right along to Section 2, speaking the camera's language, directing your AI. When you step onto a real Hollywood film set, the crew doesn't use vague terms. They use highly specific technical language to get a specific look. To get the AI to stop producing those flat, static images, you need to use cinematic camera movements, things like a drone shot, a dolly zoom, or a close-up. Listing these specific movements forces the AI to generate dynamic spatial movement. When you type drone shot, you're literally telling the AI to calculate the physics and perspective of an aerial view, which creates massive scale. A dolly zoom forces that famous, unsettling background shifting effect, and a close-up commands the AI to prioritize intimate details like the texture of an actor's skin. You are essentially forcing the AI to think in 3 dimensions. Next up, the anamorphic lens. This is a specialized cinematic lens that captures a wider aspect ratio, creating classic Hollywood visuals. It's famous for creating those horizontal lens flares and that classic widescreen feel. By simply adding anamorphic lenses or specifying high-end gear like Red Cinema cameras into your prompt, you drastically upgrade the visual texture. The AI scans its training data for images associated with that ultra-expensive equipment and applies that premium aesthetic right to your generation. All right, Section 3, Essential Cinematic Parameters, the look and feel. We have our camera movements and our lenses, but what about the atmosphere? Realistic lighting and depth are what truly separate amateur AI from the stuff that makes your jaw drop. A massive part of that is volumetric lighting. This is a dramatic atmosphere technique creating realistic light rays that add a 3-dimensional depth. Just think of the way sunlight streams through a dusty window in a moody detective movie. By adding the exact phrase volumetric lighting to your prompt, you immediately tell the AI to calculate realistic light scattering. It stops lighting the scene perfectly evenly like a sitcom and starts creating shadows, contrast, and a dramatically moody atmosphere. Another incredibly powerful parameter is shallow depth of field. This is a photographic technique keeping the subject in sharp focus while the background is beautifully blurred. Left to its own devices, AI often defaults to having absolutely everything in perfect focus, from the subject right in front of the lens to the mountains 10 miles away, and that instantly makes it look artificial. Shallow depth of field perfectly separates your subject from the background, mimicking professional cinematography. And take a look at this specific number, 24. This isn't just a random digit, it's the heartbeat of classic cinema. Standard video, like the local news or a soap opera, is often shot at 30 or 60 frames per second, which looks hyper smooth and honestly very digital. But Hollywood movies have been shot at 24 frames per second for a century. Commanding the AI to simulate 24 FPS motion is an absolute cheat code. It replicates the natural cadence and the specific motion blur of traditional cinema, literally tricking the human brain into feeling like it's watching a movie. Which brings us to our final section, Anatomy of a Master Prompt, putting it all together. We have this incredible toolkit of terms now, but we can't just throw them in randomly. We need structure. By breaking your prompt into structured steps, you logically layer the information. You're building the scene from the ground up. Step 1 is the subject. Who or what are we looking at? Like an ultra-realistic 3D filmmaker. Step 2 is camera and lenses. How are we filming them? We tell it to use red cinema cameras, anamorphic lenses. Step 3 is lighting and atmosphere. What's the mood? We apply volumetric lighting, dramatic atmosphere. This logical layering ensures the AI processes every single parameter for maximum impact. Once you have that core scene built, you lock in the final polish with specific rendering modifiers like Unreal Engine quality, 8K photorealistic, documentary style, and realistic skin textures. Specifying realistic skin textures is huge because it prevents that smooth, waxy look that ruins so many AI faces. And adding a genre tag like documentary style helps the AI further refine the grit and realism of the overall color grading. So here is the complete visual prompt in its entirety. Just look at how massive and dense this is. This is exactly what the source provided as the ultimate example, and it proves how every single piece of vocabulary we just learned stacks seamlessly together. It's really not a sentence anymore, it's a meticulously crafted recipe. It dictates the subject, setting, camera brand, lens type, lighting physics, focus, resolution, and aesthetic style all in one masterful command. This is how you stop asking the AI for a favor and start directing it like a professional. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this provocative thought. If text is the new cinema camera, what masterpiece will you shoot next? We've seen how specific terminology, from dolly zooms to volumetric lighting, completely bypasses the limitations of basic AI outputs. You now possess the exact blueprint to command the AI to behave like a multi-million-dollar Hollywood film crew. The barrier to cinematic quality is literally no longer your budget. It is simply your vocabulary. So take these terms, experiment with these master prompts, and go direct your masterpiece. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to see what you create.